I'm Todd Masuda. I'm an employment lawyer in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm making this video to talk to employers about the Ohio Medical Director's stay-at-home order that takes effect today, March 24th, 2020. The order was issued to keep people at home, to slow down the rate of personal interaction in Ohio in order to slow or limit the spread of coronavirus in our community. The general order is for people to stay home, to isolate and to slow the virus. But of course that affects employers as well. The general scheme for employers is that their businesses are separated first into non-essential and essential businesses. Non-essential businesses have to close, cease operations, and you're only allowed to be open to the extent that you are preserving the value of your assets, running payroll, keeping the heat on, that kind of thing. But essential businesses are allowed to operate and conduct commercial business as long as they comply with certain safety rules, which are laid out in sections 15 and 18 in this order generally. Even if people are essential businesses, it's still important to maintain these safety requirements, and that's what I'm going over today. So the first thing you can do is stay home if you're not an essential business, or if you have a non-essential section of your business. Those employees, those workers, those people can stay home and stay as safe as possible. If you are running an essential operation, or if you are running an essential business, what are the steps you take? How do you comply with this order and do the right thing for our community? The first thing is to separate certain individuals. The first group to separate are employees who can telecommute, who can work remotely. Identify those employees, get them out of your workplace, have them work from home. The next group is vulnerable customers. Identify how your operation works, see who the vulnerable customers are, and make what accommodations you can for them to be able to limit their exposure, limit their personal exposure to potential viral spread. And the third group of people you are addressing generally are employees who seem sick. Separate employees who appear to have acute respiratory illness symptoms from other employees and send them home immediately. That means people who are coughing, sneezing, having difficulty breathing, have a fever, etc. Send them home. So those are the three groups you are separating first while you're operating your essential business. The next important part of this order for operating businesses is to establish social distancing and hygiene protocols. The order calls for proactive social distancing. Social distancing is the 6-foot rule, and coughing into your elbow and washing hands. But the key for employers is to have proactive social distancing. The order recommends taping off workplaces or taping off areas where people will easily be able to maintain that 6-foot distance. I think the order really relies on employers to interpret how to establish these rules. But the key here is for employers to be proactive. And as you establish these protocols, whether you tape off a workplace or hand sanitizer in different places, or allowing your employees to spread out on your shop floor, or reducing shifts so that you don't have so much worker density on the shift. Those things are very important for health, and also to establish trust with your employees that you are providing a safe workplace. The next proactive workplace practice will be to establish workplace hygiene, and that's mostly washing hands, provide hand sanitizer, provide disinfectant, and provides breaks for employees to wash their hands as often as possible with soap and water, and also to disinfect what they call high-touch surfaces, places that many people will touch, doorknobs, faucets, toilet handles, different kinds of computers, shared computers, workstations, remotes, those kinds of things. And the third part is to establish other protocols in your workplace, not just for employers, but where are the opportunities for people to be exposed to others in a way that could transmit coronavirus? How do your vendors come in? How do your customers come in? Where do people pass in the hallway? Where do people transfer different things? Where do people eat? Where do people get food? Where do people throw things away? Those things can also be reviewed and reconsidered intentionally to minimize the spread of virus. And the fifth general thing that employers need to do under this order is to establish proper workplace policies. The most important one is to send home sick employees. And the return to work protocol is set forth in this order, but it basically follows the CDC guidelines. I'll read them here. Actively encourage sick employees to stay home until they're free of fever without the use of medication for at least 72 hours, which is 3 full days, and their symptoms have improved for at least 72 hours. That means they didn't get worse in the last 72 hours. And at least 7 days have passed since symptoms first began. So if an employee goes home sick, each one of those criteria have to be met before they should be allowed to come back to work. So be proactive about letting them know when they can come back to work. Let them be aware of the CDC protocols. They are available at CDC Coronavirus. That's been the evolving website that's been very helpful to employers that I've advised. Also, be flexible and adaptable about your workplace policies. Employees are frightened. Everyone's frightened, anxious, and people want to know what they want to know, that they have a safe workplace, that they want to know that they have an employer that will work with them, and they want to know that they are in this together with their employer. And I'm finding that employees will pitch in and will work, but they need to know that employers have their back, and that's, I think, a good way of doing that is to establish these policies clearly and to let them know that they're helping to provide essential services in a time of crisis, and that employers are taking their putting their focus on providing the safest workplace possible for those employees. All right, I hope that's helpful, and thank you. Best of luck to you.